Welcome y'all to the Reality and Not podcast with your boy DJ Reality and my mom sitting next to me. Hey mom, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. A little sleepy. Had a lot going on yesterday with the graduation, but good time. Good to see my nephew getting his doctorate in business association. But yeah, want to jump right into it?
Go ahead.
All right. So, what type of kid was I?
A bad one.
What was so bad about it?
When you were 2, you fell down the steps and you didn't cry. And my mama had to get you. I had to have her babysit me while I worked and stuff.
Okay. Well, so what did I do bad that falling down the stairs?
Well, number one, you went up the stairs. We stayed on Baker Street. And I was at work. And mama called me and told me, said, Sean done fell down the steps and everything. I said, well, he's okay. She said, well, he didn't cry. I said, I didn't understand why I was that, but he was a weird child.
What made me weird?
You was just weird. I mean, when you were, before you was 2 years old, you was walking, you was talking and everything, and most kids, when they 2 years old, they don't. He walked up the steps and he came back down the steps, never cried. He was just weird. Cut himself, never cried. Anything that hurt him, he didn't cry. He was a weird child.
So how was it growing up in a household with, how many was it, 7 y'all? Well, on the Charles is a lot. That he was in his 20s when he passed, right? 77, you all was born, or 76, August, right?
He died in 76.
So he was in his,
He wasn't born.
but I said he was in his 20s when he passed, right?
Yeah. He died on his birthday.
How was it growing up in a household with so many kids, or being the middle child?
Well, I had my own bedroom and everything. It was fine. We ate. We didn't have miss a meal. I didn't eat oatmeal. I still didn't eat oatmeal. It was fine.
So how was it with, because like I said, you're the middle one, right? So what responsibilities did you have versus, with Aunt Bessie and Uncle Charles and all that? Like they were a little older, but they were 2 years and 4 years older than you.
Yeah.
So like, how was it? Like, did you like with Aunt Alice and Uncle Mark? They came a lot later, right? Because how much older are you than Aunt Alice?
10,
Okay. And Uncle Mark?
17.
Oh, okay. So how is it like being able to be the youngest for the period of time? Well, no, because Uncle Joey ain't that far from you, right?
No, really, really. I'm trying to figure out.
Because Aunt Shirley's what, 5 years younger than you?
Yeah.
And Uncle Joey, I think maybe 2 years younger.
7.
Yeah, so 2 years younger than her.
You know, we made a mistake when my sister and mom had boys. That was 3 years. And then we went on down to 2 years. Alice and with the rest of us.
Who was your favorite sibling and why?
I didn't have favorites.
You didn't hang out with?
We didn't hang out. We went to school, came back. That's it. We never went nowhere. We just,
You didn't play with nobody? You didn't?
when I was 14, I started playing softball. And that's when I started going different places.
How good was you at softball?
I was the best in Michigan, on the south side, north side, east side, west side. No one could touch me. I was the best. We went different places, we went different, with naming routes, and we had, basically, how I started getting out of the house.
So, how did you end up working at the prison?
I got pregnant with my son, Shante, and I said, I basically, well, before that happened, I did blueberry, cherries, I picked and everything, and I basically took care of the family, cooking in the orchard. That's how I really started. And that was basically most of my childhood was in the blueberry field and the cherry field, picking pears, picking apples and stuff like that.
What's the best gift that you ever given in your mind to your children?
Basically,
It doesn't have to be anything physically. It could be like uh, advice or what. Just,
to my children, my advice was with my three children and one work and everything, I graduated from Grand Valley State College with a bachelor's degree. With my kids, I told them, I said, you will go to college, you will. I said, my dad died when I was 9 years old, so I never had a father figure. I was 9 years old when my dad died. And that was my father figure. That's the only person that I ever had, and I said, my kids, I said, when I grow up, I said, my kids, because I didn't care about a father figure then. The only thing I cared about was my kids growing up, have an education, and they had an education because I made sure they had loans, they had grants, they had everything. You will go to school, you will graduate from high school, you will graduate from college. I'm gonna make sure of that, and that's basically what I started. That's what I was doing. And I when shop when you were born, I made sure. I said you will. I said I'm going to work, and I said I'm gonna make sure that you all gonna have education. Y'all gonna go to school. Y'all gonna do what you're supposed to do. And that's what I started. And Mama used to. I never had a babysitter. My mom always kept my kids, and then always kept my kids. When I go out of town or something for a week or something, like Aunt Rose would come down and spend the week with me down there with you all. That's basically what I do.
Okay, I got a question that is on this, but what? I've never seen grandma work. What did grandma ever have to have a job?
Mama had a job at bakery.
Right?
No, not right. She had it at what's the name of the expensive the bakery that just closed down in Michigan. Yeah, basically work. And I saw that she had a paycheck. She was making $1, if I'm not mistaken, $1.65 an hour. And I think she worked. I don't know how many. I mean, she worked. She never worked when I was. I don't think when I was going to school. That's the only time I knew she worked. She never graduated. She tried to graduate from high school, but she said she couldn't. She couldn't do it. She said she couldn't do it. So that was basically what I did.
What inspired you to get your degree? What is your degree in? What inspired you?
My degree is in criminal justice and psychology. I graduated from Grand Valley. I drove back and forth every day to Grand Valley. I said, I will not. My kids will not. They will know that it's important to have an education. and to get a job. I waited till I was what? When you were born. Yeah, I got a job. I said, my son will not. I said, he's going to be a young man and he will not. He will have a job. He will know that his mom worked every day and not took care of him.
So I got a question. Why did you ever run the air conditioner in your car?
I didn't know I had air conditioning because
It's hot, you know.
I never knew I had air conditioning because.
So back to your job. I just want to get something in to boost it up. When you were working, what end up? Because I know you used to work a lot of overtime when it was available. I guess what? 'Cause, you know, some people were like, I need my time. I need to do all of these things. What was something that drove you to say, well, you know, I'm gonna work these hours. I'm gonna do this. Like, what drove you to work the many hours that you work?
What made me work was I wanted to make sure my kids had everything. They didn't go out there in the streets and come out. Well, I'm gonna sell these drugs and different, get me some shoes, this, that, and that. I just wanted to make sure that as long as I worked, they didn't have to do it because I took care of made sure that we had everything that we needed. We never missed a meal. We always ate. We always slept wherever I wanted to take my kids up to.
What was your favorite Christmas gift from grandma?
Yeah, taking care of my kids. She babysitted for my kids. Like I said, I never had to have a babysitter because my mom was always
So let me reverse that. What was you gave advice to us as children? What was the best advice you've gotten from grandma?
to be a lady.
What does that mean?
Always wear clothes. Keep yourself covered. Anything that you expose to yourself. Boys and things, they didn't have to worry about what they saw because they had seen it. And I always wore dresses and skirts and things. I didn't know what pants were.
How do you like to celebrate your birthday?
Just with gifts and with it doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. If it's by myself or call and say we happy birthday. That's basically what I do. If I told you I wanted something for my birthday, that's what I want. And then basically material stuff doesn't bother me.
What is the best advice you've received in life?
My advice was to do what you like doing and make sure you do it right. Make sure you have respect for your kids.
What is some advice you would give to your grandchildren?
To go to school, get a better degree than they did mama. This is what I thought. This is what my grandkids want. Big mama. And to do your best. Don't not what somebody else wants you to do. Do your best and what you want to achieve.
If you could change one thing in life, what would it be?
Go back to school.
If going back to school, what would you go back to school for, and how would you love it, or how would you use it?
Well, just like I tell my kids and I tell my grandkids and things, get your master's, get your bachelor's, get your PhD, go and do what you want to do. Express how you want to do it and help the community.
What's one of your proudest, or some of your proudest moments as a great or is it big mama?
Well, my greatest is if my great grandkids and things respect me and give me a call sometimes to see how I'm doing. That's what I my birthdays and this, that, and the other, or just call and say, hey, Big Mama, how you doing? I mean, that's just me. I call them sometimes, or I want you to call me and see how I'm
That's primarily it. I just wanted to get some time with you and talk to you on camera. And we ain't gonna go viral or nothing like that. It's just having a conversation. I just wanted to sit down and have it. That's primarily it. Anything else you want to say to the listeners?
doing. Well, my thing is raising children. It's not an easy job, but to listen to what your mom, what your grandma, your auntie, your cousin, with good advice into making your life more easier life than to just go out and start doing stuff. Sometimes they listen, sometimes you don't. But it's just the fact that you listen. And this is what my big mama said. And you know, now that I'm older, I understand what she's saying. You know, a lot of people saying, well, you talk too much, you do this and you do that. There's a reason why they say it and do what they say. And sometimes, well, this is wrong, mama. Let me know that it's wrong. Don't go telling everybody else about, well, she said this and this, that happened, this, that. Listen. Always listen. There's always a reason to listen. Always. Not sometimes. Always listen, but then if it's not, if you don't think it's right, go back and tell me.
Well, that's a great piece of advice. I had to learn how to take into account what other people are saying, and if it helps, then you do it. If it don't, then like I said, you can let them know. But you, because the decision is always going to be on you, because you're the one that's have to deal with it. But at least listen to what's available to you, because we don't all have that opportunity to be able to. I mean, talking with grandma or Aunt Rose and stuff like that. Just going over there, just sitting in their house, and they just cook something, or they just kind of just hang out with you, talk to you, and stuff like that. I remember one time I was talking to Aunt Rosie, and it's like, you don't have that no more. One time I was talking to her, and I can't remember how. I know she passed it. Well, nobody knew her age, but she passed before she passed. I remember one time going over there, and I was just like, well, how is it growing up in the South? She's from Alabama, and we don't get the opportunity. That's why one of the questions I had was, and actually I didn't ask, so I can ask it last. But one of the things is we don't have that connection as much anymore. Where, hey, I can go to Aunt Rosie's house, hey, I can go over grandma house, I go back and say, like, that's changed throughout the time with technology, and just everybody staying over here or moving out of Muskegon and being all these different places. But I guess the last question, now the other one was kind of the last question, but one of the questions was, how was it being raised in the South versus moving up north?
Well, we went, when it was, 7 of us at the time. And Mama would send 3 of us down to Mississippi and go to school, everything. Child graduated from high school down there. Me and Jesse, when we came back, it was Jesse, Child, and then Shuri. It was 3 different ones. I was down there for 3 years. Down there with Muddy, and it was different down there because we was in a 3-room house, and outside toilets and stuff we didn't have. But when we came back to Michigan, He stayed on McGarry Street when we moved him. They bought us out on McGarry Street when we moved to Baker Street. And it was us. And when we moved on Baker Street, we had a big old house. But when we lived on McGarry Street, we had, it was mom before daddy died, we was young kids. And that's when daddy died, mama was sending us down there because it was, I mean, she didn't understand. It was, we had two bedroom, and my cousin Dave McIntosh, he came and when he was in his film, he would come. He put a bed in his, he put the bed in the living room, and he stayed with us, and it was just down there. He, my granddad, when we were down in Mississippi, he had a big old watermelon there. And me, Charles, and Jesse, we go down there and we get in the, go down there and still get what we still we go down there and get us watermelon and bust them open.
So you were borrowing?
Yeah, we borrowed. We borrowed. And we didn't eat them all, we just throw them out there in the yard. And we had plum trees and different things. It was really, and I picked cotton. I done picked from here to there. They put us on the bus and we drove the bus and everything. And we picked cotton, and that's how we got our lunch and stuff. And the money we made and stuff we had. We went to the store and we stopped on the bus and stopped at the store and everything. It was totally different. I mean, down there, it was totally different. Up there, it was totally different. Mama made us go to the blueberry field, and when my kids got older, I took them to the blueberry field, and
You didn't like it?
they didn't like it, but y'all never got paid. So, but y'all wasn't hungry, but y'all had clothes, y'all had everything y'all needed, but y'all didn't get paid. To this day, my mama took her to the blueberry field and we didn't get paid.
I mean, I care less about the pay. I just didn't like to be out there. I could pick
But your
one
work
or two
ethic,
buckets. Yeah, I could pick 1 or 2 buckets. I could pick 10. You say, hey, go out, but it was just we went out there so early. It was
yeah, but your work ethic and things never stopped changing because you knew how to go and well, I said hustle, blueberry field and stuff. That that was my mentality to teach you all. This is what we have to do in order to survive. That we don't have to go out and steal. We can go to the blueberry field and different things, and we had our own money and everything. But Mama, can I get a hamburger? Yeah, we can get a hamburger because we worked for it. And this, that, and that. And
yeah, I never deny that. I think that's literally where like the drive that I have as far as DJing or cutting hair or cutting grass or shoveling snow or having a paper route. I've always had a way to get money, and I never sold drugs and never even considered it. But at the same time, I always had another help selling candy. It was like you get a stereo. They probably did this wrong, but anyway, selling candy to get this little $100 or $200 stereo. It was always, with the world's finest, all that candy, making sandwiches, doing all that stuff with the band. In general, it was always ways to, if we didn't have it, we could figure out how to get it.
That basically my thing. When you grew up, you knew how to do and how to go about getting what you need and what you want instead of going out there and stealing it and stuff like that. That was my thing.
Combination. I thought you picking it up at home.
Mm-hmm. They were, they were, I know how time you had to transfer.
This is the last question. Just to take it back so it can be recorded. What inspired you to not drink or smoke?
All my life, I have never, it didn't smell good, it didn't taste good, and it wasn't the fact that I couldn't afford it, it's just the fact that I didn't want my kids growing up drinking and smoking and all this other stuff, interfering with their education and all this other stuff going out, and something happened to him while he was drunk and or she was drunk. But she both, my kids never drank, they never smoked, so I never drank. My mama never drank. Like, I don't even know if my dad is going to drink because I was 9 years old when he died. So it's just the fact that I didn't want my, I didn't want to be, I wanted my kids to understand that drinking and smoking and stuff, it wasn't good to them. And when you get older, you start looking like you, if you're 15, you look like you're 32. Stuff like that. And like I said, if I was going to drink, I wanted to drink the best. Hennessy and all this other stuff. I didn't like the taste of it. I didn't like the smell of it. But that's basically why I never, when I was in college, when I went to Western, I was in Upward Bound and stuff. They'd go out and drink and smoke and stuff. They come back hungover. I wasn't the smartest person, but I wasn't the dumbest person. That's basically one reason. That was the main reason why I never went to smoke. My mama never, I never saw it live in my house, in my mama's house, and my kids were gonna see it. I got liquor and stuff.
It was on sale.
If it's on sale, I would buy it, but I never drank it, never tried to taste it, because it was something that didn't taste good and just smelled good.
So how did you end up? Because I didn't know this about what. How did you end up at Western, but then you ended up finishing at Grand Valley, or ended up getting your degree at Grand Valley?
Well, excuse me. When I went to Western was Martin Luther King. I don't know if they still have it or not. And they had Upward Bound. And me and my cousin Linda, she was in Upward Bound. I was in Martin Luther King, and they gave out different. They let us do. We went to different programs. We went to different places in Martin Luther King and Upward Bound. It was something that I never been away from home, and that was in my years going to school and stuff. That was basically, I was glad to get away from home. I met, like I said, and we had fun. I met different people, and to this day, there's some people that I still remember in Martin Luther King. And whenever I go to Ben Harbor, I go there looking for different people, and I try to keep up with different people. My thing was when I went out of different towns for different things, I always got phone numbers and addresses, and that was the main reason. That was I went to Western. I went there, then I went there I started going to Grand Valley. I graduated from Muskegon Community College. I played softball at community college. I should have a record there, but I don't know if I do or not. I don't even think about it anymore. But I graduated from Muskegon Community College. Then I went to Martin Luther King before then. Then I went to
So I want to ask this question. I'd asked about the South and the differences of growing up. Did you experience a lot of racist or prejudice things down in the South? And then on top of that, the South versus the North, was there a huge difference in how you were treated as a black person um, growing up? Because you were born in 1951. And so you were like, you talking, you said you picked cotton, you did all of the things. So when you talk about the civil rights movement, that kind of triggered or kind of started around that time all the way into the 60s. And then still, dealing with it in the 70s and further on. So like, what was your experience within things that were races or prejudice?
Well, going to school down there, we rode the buses. We had the black buses and we had the white buses. The black buses would pick us up, come right there and pick us up, and the white buses would come right past us and keep. And they had the white kids. They had the white kids on the white buses. They had the white buses, bus drivers. They had the black bus drivers for the black kids. And the black kids, that's all that drove the bus. The black kids and the black buses, the white kids and the white buses. But we went to the different schools, and I mean, we went to this school here on this corner, down here on the other corner, and that was back then. When I came back, and they still had it in the 70s and the 80s, and basically the 90s. Back then, they had it. Like I said, we went to the different schools. They had different teachers, and they did. I mean, the lunches and things were beautiful. I mean, we had they fed us good. But like here, we had red beans and rice. We had everything down there at that school. It cost 20 cents. We basically didn't have 20 cents for kids. Well, we did. The girls that eat lunch and stuff, and we would have moon pies and a chocolate milk. That's what we would have for lunch. But the lunches and things were 20 cents. And they were excellent lunches and everything. And they fed the group food back then. But what they got now, they just have, I didn't like what the kids are serving now. But I, myself, I enjoyed we went to school, we went to lunch. We didn't go there to see what food we were going to eat that day. Basically, we didn't know what we were going to have for dinner that evening because back then they didn't have stuff like that. But the food, the buses and things, we had this one lady, she stayed way down the street and she drove the bus, she was black. And the white and the lady, we had a store down there on the corner. I mean, exactly, you come around the curve, it was right there. But it was much different than it is. But as far as white folks, you had to call them miss. I didn't do it. I was very defiant about that. This woman, this girl, she was the same age as I was, and if I was 9 years old, I'm not going to call you Miss so-and-so and so-and-so. I didn't call it nothing. But it's just the fact that it was that down there they wanted you to be whatever what you want to call it.
In line?
Hmm?
In line, like in a certain street, like you had to like order.
Yeah, you had to treat them and see. I wasn't. Well, I've been defiant all my life, but you didn't have. I didn't do it. Miss Nelly, Miss Evans, your name Nelly. You know, you a kid. You just like me. But it was just the fact that you go in the back then you couldn't be washed in a big old pot. But if you went when I went down there back when I was older, it was totally different. You Miss this here, Miss this here, or Mr. this here, Mr. And if you didn't say it, they look at you like you were crazy. I said, baby, I said, you got the wrong person. I said, I'm from the north. I'm not from the. I said, I don't do that. I said, I almost got into it with one of the guys at the grocery store. It's just the fact that back then and now, I mean, in 1990 something, I think it was, they still had buses with the black kids. You picked up the black kid, you had buses with the white kids. My sister, before she passed away, because I went down and she was staying down there, we went to the wash, to the laundromat. And my sister said, you can't go in there. I said, look, I said, what you mean I can't go in there? This is for the white folks. I said, well, you know what? I said, the only reason why I'm going in the black folks is because you were down here. I said, because it's gonna make you no business. I said, I'm going to wash my clothes. And it was just different. It was totally different. Back, I mean,
Was that in the 90s?
yeah. Not the
I'm thinking 60s.
the 60s and the 70s. No, I'm talking about they had bus drivers down there, black bus drivers and white bus drivers, picking up the kids and things. And I'm like, I said, come on now. I said, y'all doing the same thing over and over. And I mean, it hadn't changed. I said, well, y'all say it ain't changed. I said, I'm doing what I'm doing. I said, because I said, Uncle Joe up under my seat here, you know what his name is. I mean, come on, let's make a change. And this one white guy, he was married to this one black lady for I don't know how many years. And then it started coming out that blacks would marry whites. And wasn't a secret. But that was on them. But I mean, I don't know if it's changed or not since 2000, because I haven't been there. I can't say something. I said, but I know in the 90s, they still had black bus drivers, they still had white, and they had blacks going in here and whites going in here. That was just my thing.
So wait, you said that, I mean, back to that, you said that they were married, but nobody knew. They were like the white man and the black, they were, like it wasn't really, I don't say disclosed, but it wasn't out there that it was comfortable to be married in a mix.
Mixed family. I mean, there were, I guess there were mixed families, because I didn't go down there and say, hey, look, you married to a white woman, you married to a black man, or whatever. I heard that this white man was married to this black woman, or this white woman was married to a black man. It wasn't known without. Other people probably knew, but I'm just going by what I was. This when it came out. But I mean, there were different things. I mean, down there, like they had mansions down there. The part that where we was at, we never seen it before. They had cameras and everything that comes to the driveway, and you could see who it was and everything. But I mean, like that was in.
Well, that's how you've been in Mississippi. Not passing through, but actually
it's been a long time. Oh, I was down there for my nephews, my oldest nephew, his birthday. Not last year, not well, 2 years ago, 3 years, 2 or 3 years ago. We down there for baby Mississippi. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's changed. A lot of things have changed. And I got to go back down and see what's going on.
Yeah, I don't like going there. Last time I went there was 16,
Well,
and I came and picked you up. Technically, I think me might have been Terry and Sinead in the car. I can't remember. That was when we trusted kids with kids, but I drove from Texas to pick you up because I think you might have been with Uncle LC. I can't remember. I know that y'all I know he drove. Wherever you drove, I think it was Uncle LC. I can't remember. I know y'all drove together, but he was staying there and you was going to Texas. So I drove from Colleen there with them in the car with me. And we was at
it takes you 10 minutes to get there.
yeah, and I remember we went to Aunt Jesse's house and I was over it when I got there and was like, all right, well, let's go back to Texas. And we left. It couldn't have been no more than an hour. If it was more than an hour, but I was not staying down. So we literally turned back around. I think it was a 8 or 9 hour drive. I can't remember. I just remember I got in the car with, like I said, they couldn't have been no more than, I don't even think Jay was, or Jay might have been a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they were probably 4 and 3, if I remember correctly. But 4 and 3 and 3, they could move around, but they weren't like babies. But I drove there with them, came and picked you up, and then got right back on the road within an hour and a half. That was what, I think 20 to anyway. But yeah. Anything else that you want to express? You want to talk about? Well, thank you for recording with me. I know we always have our little back and forth before. We all happy now, but but thank you. I love you. Thank you for getting on the podcast with me. And then make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, and talk to you soon. Peace.